I need you to stop what you're doing right now. Because what I'm about to tell you will change how you see relationships forever. There's a woman named Lily. She is 27 years old. She is a nurse making $45,000 a year. She drives a 2010 Honda Civic with 180,000 miles. She lives in a studio apartment. She is nobody famous. She is nobody important. And then a millionaire walked into her life. His name is Alexander. He is 31 years old. He is worth $47 million. Alexander owns real estate across 3 states. Alexander has private jets and penthouses and everything money can buy. Alexander is the kind of man that women dream about. And Alexander became completely obsessed with Lily. He didn't approach her normally. He didn't ask for her number. He didn't wait for a second date. Alexander walked into Lily's coffee shop one Tuesday morning, saw her serving lattes, and decided, I'm going to marry this woman. Within 1 week, Alexander had flown Lily to a luxury resort, bought her a luxury car, taken her on a private jet, introduced her to his billionaire friends, told her he loved her. Within 3 months, Alexander had proposed with a massive diamond ring, planned an elaborate wedding, promised her a perfect life, told her he would take care of her forever, made her believe she had won the lottery. Lily was living a dream. Lily thought she had escaped her ordinary life. Lily thought she was about to become someone important. But then something happened that Lily didn't expect. Lily asked Alexander to go to a remote cabin in the forest. Just the two of them, away from money, away from luxury, away from everything except each other. Alexander said no. Alexander said, why would we go to some dirty cabin when we could go to the Ritz? But Lily insisted. Lily needed to know if Alexander loved her or if he loved the idea of her. Lily needed to strip away the money and see if their connection was real. Alexander finally agreed. They drove to a cabin in the middle of nowhere. No electricity. No running water. Just darkness and silence and forest. The first night was perfect. Alexander and Lily sat by the fire. They held each other. They made love. For the first time since meeting Alexander, Lily felt like she was seeing the real him. But then came the second night. Lily woke up at 3 a.m. Alexander wasn't in bed. Lily got up. Lily walked through the dark cabin. Lily found Alexander standing by the window, completely still, staring out into the darkness. Lily said, Alexander, what are you doing? Alexander didn't respond. Alexander didn't move. Alexander just stood there in the dark, completely silent, completely still. Lily touched his arm. And when she touched him, Alexander turned to her slowly. And what Lily saw in his eyes in that moment, Lily saw something broken. Lily saw something dark. Lily saw something that made her realize, I don't know who this man is at all. Because standing in that dark cabin, Alexander looked at Lily and he said words that would haunt her forever. Sometimes I think about killing myself. And when I'm alone in the dark like this, those thoughts are all I can think about. Lily's blood went cold. Lily realized in that moment that she had accepted a marriage proposal from a man with severe mental health issues that he had never disclosed. Lily realized that the fairy tale she had believed in was built on a lie. And Lily understood something critical. Sometimes the most dangerous people aren't the ones who seem dangerous. Sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who seem perfect. Sometimes the darkness hides behind $1 million smile. This is not a love story. This is a horror story disguised as a romance. This is a story about what happens when someone with unresolved trauma uses money to attract someone and then reveals the darkness underneath. This is the story of Lily discovering that the man she was about to marry was struggling with suicidal ideation and severe depression, and he had hidden it from her completely. But it's also a story about what happens next. It's a story about choices. It's a story about whether love is enough to fix someone who is truly broken. Rate this story from 0 to 10. Tell me if you think Lily should have stayed. Tell me if you think Alexander was abusing her by hiding his mental health issues. Tell me if you believe someone can hide this much darkness and still be capable of genuine love. But most importantly, tell me this. If you discovered that the person you loved was suicidal and depressed and had hidden it from you, would you stay? Would you try to save them? Or would you run? Because Lily had to make that choice. And her answer will shock you. Lily had never had much money. Lily grew up in a working-class family. Lily's parents taught her that love wasn't about wealth. Love was about showing up, about being present, about caring. Lily became a nurse because she wanted to help people. Lily worked long shifts in a hospital helping sick people get better. Lily made decent money but not great money. Lily was comfortable but not wealthy. Lily was happy, or at least, Lily thought she was happy. Lily had a small circle of friends. Lily had a job that felt meaningful. Lily had built a quiet, ordinary life. But Lily was also lonely. Lily was 27 years old and had never been in love. Lily had dated men who were kind but not passionate. Lily had never felt the kind of connection that you read about in books or see in movies. And then Alexander walked into her life. It was a Tuesday morning. Lily was working a shift at a local coffee shop. Not her main job, but a side gig to make extra money. A man in an expensive suit walked in and ordered a complicated espresso drink. Lily made the drink. The man took a sip and he said, "This is incredible. Did you make this?" Lily said yes. The man said, "I'm Alexander. What's your name?" Lily said, "I'm Lily." Alexander said, "Lily, I'm going to sound crazy, but I want to take you to dinner tonight." Lily laughed. Lily thought he was joking. Lily said, "I don't even know you." Alexander said, "That's what makes it perfect. I want to get to know you." Lily should have said no. Lily should have been cautious. Lily should have been suspicious of a man approaching her this aggressively. But Lily was lonely. And Alexander was confident and charming and interesting. Lily said yes. That night, Alexander took Lily to the most expensive restaurant in the city. Alexander ordered wine that cost more than Lily's monthly rent. Alexander looked at Lily across the table and he told her, "I've never felt this way before. I know this sounds insane, but I think you're the one." Lily should have been terrified by how fast this was moving. Lily should have recognized the red flags. Lily should have understood that this level of obsession wasn't normal. But Lily was also falling in love. Lily was experiencing something she had always wanted. Someone being completely focused on her, someone making her feel like she was the most important thing in their life. Alexander flew Lily to Miami for the weekend. Alexander bought her a Rolex watch. Alexander took her to his penthouse and showed her a life that Lily had never imagined existed. Lily told Alexander, "This is too much. You're moving too fast. I'm scared." Alexander said, "Don't be scared. I'm going to take care of you forever. You'll never have to worry about anything again." And Lily believed him. Lily wanted to believe him. Lily was desperate to believe that someone this rich, this powerful, this successful, actually wanted her. 3 months after they met, Alexander proposed. He proposed at the top of a rooftop in New York City with a diamond ring that cost more than Lily's entire life savings. He proposed in front of a crowd of strangers who all cheered. Lily said yes. Lily didn't hesitate. Lily thought she was living a fairy tale. They set a wedding date for 6 months away. They booked a venue that cost $100,000. They hired a wedding planner. They sent out invitations to 300 people. Everything was perfect. Or at least everything looked perfect. But then Lily noticed something. Lily noticed that Alexander didn't like to be alone. Alexander always needed to be doing something. Alexander always needed noise and activity and stimulation. Lily noticed that Alexander drank heavily. Lily noticed that Alexander would disappear into his office for hours. Lily noticed that Alexander sometimes seemed sad, profoundly, deeply sad, when he thought no one was watching. Lily asked Alexander, "Are you okay? Are you happy?" Alexander said, "Of course I'm happy. I have everything I could possibly want. I have you." But Lily didn't believe him. Lily sensed that something was wrong. Lily sensed that Alexander was hiding something. And Lily did something that would change everything. Lily asked Alexander to go to a remote cabin in the forest for a weekend. Lily said, "I want to get away from all this. I want to just be with you. No money, no luxury, no distractions. Just us. Alexander immediately said no. Alexander said, "Why would we go to some dirty cabin when we have everything we could possibly want?" But Lily pushed. Lily said, "I need to know if you love me for me, or if you love the idea of me." Alexander got angry. Alexander said, "That's insane. I love you completely." But Lily didn't back down. Lily said, "Then prove it. Go to the cabin with me. Just for one weekend." After a week of arguing, Alexander finally agreed. Alexander said, "Fine. But this is ridiculous." They drove to a remote cabin in the mountains. The cabin had been in Lily's family for generations. It was simple and beautiful and completely off the grid. When they arrived, Alexander looked at the cabin and he said, "This is a joke, right? Where's the rest of it?" Lily said, "This is it. No electricity, no running water, just us and nature and a fireplace." Alexander looked like he was in pain. Alexander looked like he wanted to leave immediately. But he stayed. That first night was magical. Alexander seemed to relax. Alexander and Lily sat by the fire. They talked about their childhoods. They made love. Alexander seemed genuinely happy. Lily thought, maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's okay. Maybe he just needed to disconnect from all the noise and stress. But then came the second night. Lily woke up at 3:47 a.m. Lily knew it was 3:47 because she looked at her phone and saw the time illuminated on the screen. Alexander wasn't in bed. Lily got up. Lily walked through the dark cabin. Lily's eyes were adjusting to the darkness. Lily could see the glow of the fireplace dying down in the living room. Lily walked into the living room. And that's when Lily saw him. Alexander was standing by the window. Alexander was completely still. Alexander was staring out into the darkness of the forest. Alexander was wearing only underwear. Alexander looked like a ghost. Lily said, "Alexander, what are you doing? It's the middle of the night." Alexander didn't respond. Alexander didn't turn around. Alexander didn't acknowledge that Lily was there. Lily approached him slowly. Lily said, "Alexander, are you okay?" Alexander slowly turned to face her. And what Lily saw in his face in that moment terrified her. Alexander's eyes were empty. Alexander's expression was completely blank. Alexander looked like someone who wasn't entirely present in his body. Lily said, "You're scaring me." "What's wrong?" Alexander said very quietly. "Sometimes I stand in the dark like this and I think about killing myself." Lily's entire body went cold. Lily felt her blood stop flowing. Lily couldn't believe what she had just heard. Lily said, "What? Alexander, what are you talking about?" Alexander said, "I've been thinking about killing myself for years. When I'm alone in the dark, that's all I can think about. I think about ways to do it. I think about how nobody would really miss me. I think about how my money would just go to people who don't actually care about me." Lily felt tears coming. Lily felt panic rising. Lily said, "We need to get you help. We need to go to a hospital." Alexander said, "No. I don't want help. I don't want therapy. I don't want medication. I just want to be left alone." Lily said, "But Alexander, you're talking about suicide. This is serious. We need to." Alexander interrupted. "Lily, I proposed to you because I thought love would fix me. I thought if I had someone who loved me, I would stop feeling like this. But it's not working. Nothing works. The money doesn't work. The success doesn't work. You don't work. Nothing fixes what's broken inside me." And with those words, Lily understood something devastating. She had fallen in love with a man who was severely depressed and suicidal. She had accepted a marriage proposal from someone who was unstable. She had no idea what she was getting into. Lily said, "Why didn't you tell me this before? Why did you hide this?" Alexander said, "Because I knew you would leave. And I couldn't bear to be alone with these thoughts. So I hid. I created the perfect fantasy so you would stay. I bought you things. I promised you things. I did everything right so you wouldn't leave me alone with the darkness. Lily realized in that moment that Alexander had been using her. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but he had been using her as a tool to avoid his own pain. Alexander had pursued her aggressively because he was desperate. Alexander had moved fast because he was terrified of being alone. And Lily was trapped. Lily was in a remote cabin in the middle of nowhere with a man who had just admitted he was suicidal. Lily had no car. Lily had no way to escape. Lily had no phone service. Lily said, "We need to leave. We need to go get help." Alexander said, "If you leave, I'll kill myself. I'm telling you right now. If you leave, I will die." And Lily realized she was not just in a relationship with someone who was suicidal. She was now being emotionally blackmailed by someone who was threatening suicide if she left. Lily was trapped. That night changed everything. Lily sat in that cabin with Alexander. And Alexander told her things that she had never wanted to know. Alexander told her about his childhood, about his father who had abandoned him, about his mother who had died when he was young, about the years of therapy that hadn't worked, about the medications he had tried and quit, about the suicide attempts he had made. Alexander told Lily, "You're the only thing keeping me alive right now. If you leave, I won't have a reason to stay." And Lily felt the weight of his life on her shoulders. Lily felt responsible for keeping him alive. Lily felt like she couldn't leave, because if she left and something happened to him, it would be her fault. This is a common pattern in relationships with suicidal or severely depressed people. The healthy person becomes responsible for the sick person's mental health. The healthy person becomes the caregiver. The healthy person becomes trapped. The next morning, they drove back to the city in silence. Alexander was calm and present and acted like nothing had happened. Alexander acted like he hadn't just told Lily that he was suicidal. Lily tried to bring it up. Lily said, "Alexander, we need to talk about what happened in the cabin." Alexander said, "I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine. I was just being dramatic." Lily said, "You're not fine. You talked about killing yourself. You're not fine." Alexander said, "Lily, if you keep pushing this, if you keep bringing this up, you're going to push me back into that dark place. Just let it go." And Lily did let it go. Lily was afraid that if she pushed too hard, Alexander would spiral. Lily was afraid that she would be responsible for making him worse. This is exactly what Alexander wanted. Alexander had established emotional control over Lily. Alexander had made Lily feel responsible for his mental health. Alexander had trapped her. The wedding planning continued. Lily went through the motions. Lily smiled at dress fittings. Lily nodded at catering tastings. Lily booked photographers and florists and musicians. But Lily was terrified. Lily was living with someone who had admitted to suicidal ideation. Lily was engaged to someone who might kill himself. Lily was trapped in a nightmare disguised as a fairy tale. 3 weeks before the wedding, Alexander had another episode. Alexander drank heavily one night and he told Lily, "I don't deserve you. I don't deserve happiness. I'm going to ruin your life." Lily tried to talk to him. Lily said, "You're not ruining my life. Let's get you help." Alexander said, "I don't want help. I want to be left alone." But when Lily tried to leave the room, Alexander grabbed her arm and said, "If you leave me, I'll kill myself. I'm serious. I'll do it." Lily felt fear and anger and desperation all at the same time. Lily realized, I'm not just trapped anymore. I'm being held hostage by someone's mental illness. Lily did something she had never done before. Lily called Alexander's family. Lily called Alexander's sister. Lily told her everything. Lily told her about the suicidal ideation. Lily told her about the emotional manipulation. Lily told her about the threats. Alexander's sister was shocked. Alexander's sister said, "He's been like this his entire life. He's been in and out of psychiatric hospitals. Our parents tried everything. Nothing works. He refuses treatment. Lily said, "Why didn't anyone tell me this? Why didn't he tell me this?" Alexander's sister said, "Because he knew you'd leave. He targeted you specifically. Someone vulnerable, someone lonely, someone he could control with money and attention and then with manipulation." And Lily understood the horrible truth. She wasn't Alexander's salvation. She was Alexander's victim. Lily called off the wedding. Lily sent out notices to 300 people saying that the wedding was cancelled. Lily told Alexander that she couldn't marry him. Lily told him that she loved him but she couldn't set herself on fire to keep him warm. Alexander begged her. Alexander cried. Alexander said, "If you leave, I'll kill myself. I'm telling you right now. Your leaving will be the reason I die." Lily said, "That's not my responsibility. Your mental health is not my responsibility. Your life is not my responsibility. You need professional help, and I can't be the one to give it to you." Alexander said, "You're abandoning me when I need you most." Lily said, "I'm saving my own life." Lily left. Lily moved out of Alexander's penthouse. Lily moved back into her studio apartment. Lily went back to her job as a nurse. And for 2 weeks, Lily was terrified. Lily was afraid that Alexander would kill himself and that somehow it would be her fault. Lily was afraid that she had made the wrong choice. Lily was afraid that she should have stayed. But then Alexander's sister called her. Alexander's sister said, "He's checked himself into a psychiatric hospital. He's finally getting help. And he's angry at you, but not because you left. He's angry because you left him alone with his own darkness, and now he has to face it instead of running from it." Lily felt relief and sadness at the same time. Lily was relieved that Alexander was getting help. Lily was sad that it had taken her leaving for him to get help. Lily was sad that Alexander had spent so much time and energy trying to use her to avoid his own mental illness. But Lily also understood something important. She had saved her own life. Lily had recognized a pattern of manipulation and emotional abuse. Lily had had the courage to walk away from a fantasy. 6 months after calling off the wedding, 6 months of silence, 6 months of wondering if she had made the right choice, 6 months of rebuilding her life, Lily received a letter in the mail. The envelope was plain. The handwriting was familiar. Lily's hands shook as she opened it. Alexander had written her a letter. Not a text message. Not an email. A handwritten letter, which suggested that he had spent time thinking about what he wanted to say. Alexander had written a letter that would change how Lily understood everything that had happened between them. Alexander wrote, "Lily, I'm writing this from a psychiatric hospital where I've spent the last 6 months of my life. I'm writing this because I owe you an explanation. I owe you the truth about what I did to you and why I did it. And most importantly, I owe you an apology." Lily's heart was racing as she read. Lily didn't know what to expect. Alexander continued, "I want you to know that I've spent the last 6 months in intensive therapy getting help. I've spent the last 6 months understanding what I did to you. And I need to be honest about it. I used you. I manipulated you. I tried to make you responsible for my mental health. And that was wrong. That was deeply, profoundly wrong." Lily felt tears coming. Lily was reading words she never thought she would hear from Alexander. Alexander wrote, "I targeted you specifically. This is something my therapist helped me understand. I didn't just randomly meet you and happen to fall in love. I saw you that day in the coffee shop and I recognized something in you. Vulnerability, loneliness, a desperate desire to be loved and appreciated. And I exploited that. I exploited your loneliness because it served my purposes." Lily read those words and she felt something break open inside her. Lily felt rage and sadness and validation all at the same time. Lily felt anger that Alexander had deliberately targeted her. Lily felt sadness that she had been so lonely that she was vulnerable to being targeted. And Lily felt validation that she had been right to trust her instincts, that she had been right to recognize that something was wrong. Alexander wrote, "I used my money as a tool. I knew that if I could give you experiences you had never had, if I could make you feel special and valued and important, then you would develop a psychological dependence on me. You would need me. You would be afraid to leave. And that's exactly what happened. Lily understood, reading these words, that Alexander had been methodical about it. Alexander hadn't been acting spontaneously out of love. Alexander had been strategically constructing a trap. Alexander wrote, "I created a fairy tale because I was desperate to not be alone. I was desperate to not face my own darkness. I was desperate to have someone, anyone, take responsibility for keeping me alive. And I chose you because I sensed you would be willing to do that. I sensed you would feel like my mental health was your responsibility." Lily thought about all the nights she had lain awake, terrified that if she left, Alexander would kill himself. Lily thought about all the time she had been afraid to express her own needs because she was worried about triggering Alexander's depression. Lily thought about how she had made his mental health her primary concern, her primary responsibility. And reading these words, Lily understood. None of it was her fault. None of the guilt, none of the fear, none of the responsibility belonged to her. Alexander wrote, "You leaving me was the hardest thing I've ever experienced. And it was also the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to get help. It forced me to face my own darkness instead of running from it. It forced me to understand that I was using you as a life raft when what I actually needed was to learn how to swim." Alexander wrote about his time in the psychiatric hospital. Alexander wrote about the therapy he was undergoing. Not light therapy, but intensive, daily, confrontational therapy where he was forced to look at his own patterns of manipulation and control. Alexander wrote about the medications he was taking, medications that were helping him manage his depression and his suicidal ideation. Alexander wrote, "I've started to understand who I am underneath all the money and all the facades. And honestly, Lily, I don't like who I am. I've spent 31 years running from myself. I've spent 31 years trying to buy my way out of my own pain. I've spent 31 years hurting people who loved me because I was too selfish to get help." Lily felt something unexpected. She felt compassion for Alexander. Not the codependent, self-sacrificing compassion that had trapped her before, but genuine compassion for another human being who was suffering and was finally starting to do the work necessary to heal. Alexander wrote, "I don't expect you to forgive me. Forgiveness is something I don't deserve. I don't expect you to respond to this letter. I don't expect you to have any role in my life going forward. But I want you to know something critical. Your leaving saved both of our lives. It saved your life from being destroyed by my illness and my manipulation. And it saved my life by forcing me to finally face what I've been running from." Alexander wrote, "I hope you find happiness. I hope you find genuine, authentic love with someone who doesn't need you to be their savior. I hope you find someone who loves you not because of what you can do for them, but because of who you are. I hope you remember that your love is precious and shouldn't be given to people who take it for granted or use it as a weapon against you." And then Alexander wrote something that made Lily cry harder than she had cried in months. Alexander wrote, "I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'm sorry for targeting you. I'm sorry for manipulating you. I'm sorry for making you feel responsible for keeping me alive. I'm sorry for being selfish and cruel and using your vulnerability against you. And most of all, I'm sorry that it took me leaving you alone with my darkness to finally understand that I needed to get help. I'm sorry that I put you through that nightmare before I was willing to face my own." Lily read the letter completely. Lily read it multiple times. Lily cried every time she read it. Lily cried for the woman she used to be. The woman who was so desperate for love that she accepted a fairy tale that was built entirely on lies. Lily cried for the version of herself that had believed that she could love someone into mental health. Lily cried for the time she had wasted, the pain she had endured, the trauma she had experienced. But Lily also cried for Alexander. Lily cried for another human being who was suffering so much that he had turned to manipulation and control as a coping mechanism. Lily cried for someone who had finally started to do the work necessary to understand himself and take responsibility for his actions. And Lily felt something else, something that surprised her. Lily felt proud of herself. Lily had recognized the pattern. Lily had had the strength to walk away despite the threats, despite the guilt, despite the fear. Lily had saved her own life. Lily kept the letter. Lily didn't respond to it, respecting Alexander's words that he didn't expect a response. But Lily kept it as a reminder, not of Alexander, but of herself. A reminder that she had been strong enough to walk away from someone she loved because she loved herself more. So here's what I want you to understand about this story, and I need you to really hear this because this is the most important part. This story is not about Alexander being evil. Alexander wasn't evil. Alexander was sick. Alexander was suffering from severe depression and suicidal ideation. Alexander was traumatized by his childhood. Alexander needed help. But, and this is critical, understanding that someone is sick does not mean accepting their manipulation. Understanding that someone is suffering does not mean being responsible for their mental health. Understanding that someone has trauma does not mean you are obligated to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. This story is about what happens when someone who is severely mentally ill tries to solve their problems through a relationship instead of through professional treatment. This story is about what happens when someone with unresolved trauma uses money and attention and love bombing as tools to control another person. This story is about what happens when someone makes another person responsible for keeping them alive. And this story is about recognizing the warning signs. The warning signs that most people miss because they're too busy being flattered by the attention, too busy enjoying the luxury, too busy believing in the fairy tale. The warning signs are moving too fast, intensity that feels excessive, love bombing, being showered with gifts and attention and declarations of love within weeks, isolation, being separated from friends and family, using money as a form of control, making you feel responsible for their mental health, making you feel guilty for having your own needs, making threats of suicide if you leave. These are not signs of love. These are not signs of someone who adores you. These are signs of manipulation and control. These are signs of someone who is using you as a tool to avoid their own pain. If you are in a relationship with someone who is threatening suicide if you leave, understand this. That is emotional abuse. That is emotional blackmail. That is not your responsibility. Your job is not to keep them alive. Your job is to save your own life. You cannot love someone into mental health. You cannot sacrifice your own well-being for someone else's mental illness. And if you are severely depressed, if you are suicidal, if you are struggling with mental illness, I want you to hear this too. The answer is not a relationship. The answer is not finding someone to love you so that you finally feel okay. The answer is not using someone else as a life raft while you're drowning. The answer is getting professional help. The answer is treatment. The answer is therapy and medication and understanding yourself. The answer is doing the hard, painful work of facing your own darkness and learning how to manage it. Love can be part of your recovery. Love can be beautiful and healing and transformative. But love cannot be the foundation of your recovery. Love cannot be the reason you stay alive. Love cannot be the only thing standing between you and suicide. If that's where you are, then you need professional help before you get into a relationship. And if you are noticing someone moving too fast, someone showering you with gifts and attention, someone trying to create a fairy tale that feels almost too perfect, someone who seems a little too interested in isolating you from your support system, be careful. Be aware. Be cautious. Because here's the truth that nobody talks about. Sometimes the most beautiful fantasies hide the darkest realities. Sometimes the most charming people have the most to hide. Sometimes the most generous people are using their generosity as a weapon. It's not your job to save them. It's not your job to fix them. It's not your job to love them into mental health. Your job is to save yourself. Your job is to recognize the patterns. Your job is to have the courage to walk away, even when someone tells you they'll kill themselves if you do. Lily found her way out of the darkness. Lily recognized the manipulation. Lily had the courage to call off the wedding and walk away. Lily saved her own life. Alexander found his way to treatment. Alexander spent 6 months in a psychiatric hospital doing the work necessary to understand himself. Alexander is finally taking responsibility for his actions. Alexander is finally getting the help he needed all along. And both of them learned what should have been obvious from the beginning. You can't love someone into mental health. Money can't buy recovery. Fairy tales don't exist. The only way forward is through professional help and self-awareness and honesty about who you actually are underneath all the facades. Lily's story is a story about strength. Lily's story is a story about recognizing patterns. Lily's story is a story about choosing yourself. And if you're in a similar situation, if you're being manipulated by someone you love, if you're being made responsible for someone else's mental health, if you're being threatened with suicide if you leave, I want you to know, you can do what Lily did. You can recognize the pattern. You can walk away. You can save your own life. Because your life is precious. Your love is precious. And you deserve to give those things to someone who appreciates them, not to someone who uses them as a weapon against you. I'll see you next time.